Hello there, Eagles fans, and welcome back to our Eagles Therapy Podcast. My name is Basil.
And I'm Baz.
And we are recording Sunday, January 14th, 2024, not 3.
There you go.
Last episode I said 2023 still, so
Excellent.
In 2024. We wanted to record today. Of course, the Eagles play tomorrow night, Monday night. We wanted to record tonight to kind of talk about some of the playoff stuff, some of the scenarios, some of the situations and games that happened today, because we didn't want to talk about it tomorrow. Because we're going to be focusing mostly on the Eagles game, and that'll be a long episode if we're doing every playoff game. We also might not be in the best mood tomorrow, depending on what happens. But
that's right.
After today, we're pretty happy, right, Dad?
Well, we're pretty good mood. Yeah,
yeah. I'm pretty darn happy. I'm not an NFC North fan by any means, but I'm kind of proud of the NFC North right now.
Yes.
I appreciate what they did today, but we're going to go game by game.
Right.
Starting off from yesterday, Saturday's games. Starting off, we had the Browns and the Texans play, and
big surprise.
Big surprise there. The Texans won 45-14, looking like it was going to be a competitive game going into the first half, the first quarter. Really, I think it was at the half. It was 14-24,
16-14. I think at one point. Right?
Oh, okay, yeah, 16-14 or 17-14 probably.
Okay,
but going into the half, you might be right though. Actually, I think it was 14. Yeah. Or 16-14. But going into the half, it was 24-14, so still relatively a close game. Then it kind of just got blown open by Cleveland. By Houston. Blew it open with those 2 pick sixes against Flacco. Kind of a bummer. We've talked about it on the podcast before. Of course, we're not Browns fans or anything else. We're Eagles fans. But my mom is from Cleveland, so we try to root for them. And
Grandpa was a big Browns fan.
Yeah, Grandpa was a big Browns fan. We had a lot of family back there, so try to root for them. It was a bummer to see them lose. Just kind of like that. It was a bummer to not even see a competitive game. Really,
right. It was kind of a magical season for them. They went through 4 different quarterbacks and the whole thing. But Flacco got hot at the end of the year and just seemed to give them that little lift they needed.
Yeah,
they had a great defense. They had their troubles this year with the running back getting hurt there, Chubb, and but just to get into the playoffs and obviously they weren't going to win their division, but
that's kind of
a surprise, a very surprising game.
Yeah, well, it's a bummer because we're going to be talking more about it during this podcast, but it's funny because early on, let me just say it now, it's funny how the postseason games like yesterday and today, they prove to you that the postseason is a whole different thing. It's a whole different season. There's so many upsets already, or not even upsets really. I know technically by seeding they weren't upsets, but just things we were not expecting to happen. Yeah. I know we'll get into all of that, but
it's funny because in years past you didn't seem to have that. The higher seed always won.
Yeah, most part.
There was always maybe one upset,
of course. Yeah,
of course there was only 4 games each weekend instead of what we had this weekend. But that's with the added playoff run, and that might be why it's different now with the extra teams added and the seeding still the way it's set up now. Yeah. But I was surprised that Houston came out and just played as well as they did. I really did not expect that.
But it's funny. We talked about Cleveland. They were the number 1 defense, and off the season, they were the number 1 defense in the league based off of total yards and I believe points. And then they 45 points were scored against them. I know 14 of them is pick sixes, but still, man, it's funny how that works out of nowhere.
It wasn't a real surprise because we know Flacco did have 8 interceptions in 5 games or something like that.
Yeah, so he was turning the ball over.
You put some pressure on him. He's 39 years old, so it wasn't that big of a surprise. But I was waiting. I was hoping for a more competitive game.
Yeah,
I expected a more competitive game. Now tonight's game, of course, if you watched the last podcast, we did say. When you mentioned what was playing tonight, Sunday night game, I went, "Oh, that's going to be a good
game." Yeah,
and there was no surprise there.
Yeah, and biggest surprise. Well, not even a surprise about that Texans Browns game. C.J. Stroud, man, he's continuing it on into the playoffs. 3 for 3 touchdowns, 274 yards. I think it was. Let me see his pass attempts. 16 of 21.
He
was killing them.
It was kind of the changing of the guard. Really, you had 2 rookie quarterbacks do really well this weekend so far.
Yeah, correct.
So
it is weird. Well, Love's not a rookie, but we'll get into more.
But
I know what you mean. Still relatively young,
very young
to starting position. But let's go over to the Dolphins-Chiefs game. So the Chiefs won 26-7. Kind of the most boring game of the weekend for sure. I don't really know what to call the game as far as like with the weather. You can't call it the Ice Bowl. You can't call it
right.
You know, there's something about, I don't know, maybe the Swift Bowl. I'm just kidding. But
it was
you know, to touch more on, like we said, Cleveland was the number one defense and then got destroyed. You know, the Dolphins ended off as the number one scoring offense or number two. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Sorry.
Yeah.
But you know, they only scored 7 points.
Right. And I mean, watching that game, you know, they seemed to be in it maybe first quarter, and you know, you could see that they were going to break through, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah, they had a great pass to Tyreek Hill, who got free for a touchdown. But other than that, there was really nothing going for them almost the entire game. But you know, it's funny. Just again, a top offense scores 7 points. You know, just completely unexpected. Now it's funny because it shows you how important that Bills-Dolphins game was. You know, the winner won the 2 seed, the loser got the 6 seed.
And the Dolphins had it set up for the whole season.
Instead of playing in Miami in 70-degree weather, they had to go play in Kansas City with a real feel of minus 28 at one point.
Yeah, that was bad.
And that might be why they didn't, you know, Tua is a quarterback who played at Alabama, and then he goes and plays in Miami. He played in the South. He's never played in the cold. He's never played in the bitter, you know, cold of it, and he felt it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's why, but it seems like it wasn't too good.
Has played there for years now, so he's kind of used to the bad outdoor weather and the cold.
Well, he's only played home playoff games. He's never played away.
True.
So he's only played home games, so he knows how to play in the cold late in the season.
We'll see what they do next week because they'll be on the road.
Yeah, the Chiefs. They play the Bills. Well, if the Bills win, we still have to wait to see what happens there. But it's funny because it's weird. Well, I guess no. It was weird to me that today was 2 NFC games and yesterday was 2 AFC. I'm surprised they didn't make it. I'm surprised they didn't put it, you know, AFC, NFC, NFC. And I know the Bills got delayed, but
in the old days, and I always bring them up, that's the way it was. You always had one AFC, NFC, and then the next day it seemed like they switched. So if the NFC was early the first day, they would be the late game the second day. And they've thrown it all off. It's just confusing to me now. But, you know, now that there's 6 games, and, of course, with the Bills game being pushed back a day, you have 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday, and then, of course, 2 tomorrow. So, which is nice for us that have the holiday off. You know, we get to watch the games, but there's some people that still work and, you know, have to.
It'll be nice. I'm going to have something to do at 2:30 now instead of laying around doing nothing. But next one we'll talk about, because we're going to save one of them for last, of course. Next one we'll talk about was the Rams-Lions. We were cheering for the Lions. So, again, not Lions fans, but I've always been when I was a kid, I was a Lions fan because I liked Lions. We've told the story probably. Yeah. You know, I was a kid who liked Lions, and I was like, oh, the Lions. And I always hated the Packers, but we don't talk about that, but because the Packers always beat them. But, you know, we've always kind of had a Lions support in us because, first of all, how can you hate them when they've never done anything in your lifetime? That's like hating the Jets. That's like hating the Dolphins, really. Like, I don't know how that's possible.
That was your third or fourth team.
They've never done anything. Why would you hate them? You know what I mean? Unless you're in the division, I understand that, but that's different.
Yes.
But yeah, the Lions won 24-23 in Matt Stafford's homecoming. I thought that was really cool storyline going into the game, and it didn't disappoint. But it looked like so. I can't remember exact scores and how it happened because I was making dinner while we were kind of watching. I was in and out.
Right.
But the Lions, they took the lead early, 7-0, and they never lost the lead, right?
I don't think so, no.
Because I think they went up. Did they go up 14-0? I can't remember now.
Yeah, you're right. They did go up 14-0.
So they went 14-3 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
So they were never down. Was it 7? It was 7-0, 7-3,
right.
14-3.
Yes.
And then, going into the half, I believe they still had the lead at 21-17.
Yes.
Or something like that. So
it was close the whole way through.
Yeah. So the Lions never let go of the lead. They took the lead early and they never let it go. Congrats to them and all their fans. But
that second half, the Lions kind of couldn't move the ball so much, and the Rams seemed to be doing it everywhere. It looked like when in that ending drive, they were going to get it, but then they ended up kicking a field goal, settling for a field goal, and then at one point they punted, which I thought was odd.
With 3 minutes left or so, they thought they had the chance to stop. But
and only one timeout left. Remember?
Yeah, that's the thing. And I don't, I believe I think Sean McVay is a really great coach in this league. So I'm not going to say he's a bad coach because he's a great coach. But it was bad coaching at that point.
Right.
To only have one timeout that late in the quarter, you can't do that. You can't. Or sorry, in the half.
Right.
You can't do that. Not when you're in a competitive game. It's different if you're up a lot or down a lot, but
it's one of our Bible things. Got to keep your timeouts, man.
Keep your timeouts.
You got to keep them.
Yeah, that's the other thing. We're writing something called an NFL Bible. We'll talk about that in another episode.
It'll come
kind
out.
of rules, but we'll figure
it out.
It'll come out.
Yeah.
But Lions walk away with the win. Congrats to them. Cool to see them get their first ever, or not first ever, but first playoff win in
31 years.
I think it was 31. And we saw some fans in the in the stands crying. It was kind of cool to see. And it's kind of funny because it does make you got to step back,
right,
and remember, these guys they're witnessing the first playoff win in 31 years or so. The last time they won a playoff game, that guy might have been 5 or 6 years old. Stuff like that, and we do take it for granted a lot.
Yeah,
we've won We've won 30 playoff games in the last 25 years.
Yeah.
There's
been to the playoffs a lot.
A lot. And it's like you have to really kind of remember, oh man, like we take it for granted when we get an extra game or when we win an extra game. That's huge. It's big for your fandom and you don't realize it. We take it for granted. We're like, we're the 5th seed, dude. We're in the playoffs. Like you got to kind of be happy, but it's hard when the season ended the way we did. So
early into 2000s, we were in the playoffs every year, and then probably 5 or 6 of the 10 years in the 2000 earlies, and then we did miss the playoffs there in the early teen years, but towards the end we started making the playoffs a lot again. So,
and then the Rams and Lions game, I do want to say the quarterbacks played phenomenal. It was a great shootout.
Oh yeah,
thought it would be a little higher scoring, especially because we went into the half with a pretty high score. It ended up only being 24-23.
Right.
That the Lions had 21 going into the half, so I thought it'd be a little higher scoring on the other side.
So they only got 3 in the second half.
Exactly. In the third quarter was it.
Yeah, that's wild.
But it's funny. They really had a really just back and forth. Quarterbacks played really well. Really great quarterback duel.
Oh, well, and it just showed you, Nakua, man, what a great receiver he is.
Dude. Yeah, it says it on here. He set the single game NFL playoff record for most receiving yards by a rookie. We were happy to see that graphic go up because the record was previously owned by DK Metcalf on the Seahawks, his rookie year against the Eagles back in 2019. So that was good to see them see that finally be broken.
Yes, it's always good to get that wiped away. But
yes,
well, it also gives you an early in next year for your fantasy that Nakua is going to be one of those top players drafted because he's amazing.
I mean, he's above Cup already.
He just doesn't go down. I mean, he is amazing.
He is really good, and that's a 5th round pick guy, man. Like it shows you the draft is becoming. I mean, obviously it's always been there in the sense of Tom Brady, 6th round, but nowadays it's becoming just more and more like we can go back to Terry McLaurin back in I believe 16 when he was drafted.
Right,
he was drafted in the 5th or 6th round. A lot of these guys.
Well, it just shows you,
and great.
We've talked about this
Purdy,
before. It tells you, don't draft a throwaway quarterback in the 4th round.
Yeah, true.
We did a couple of years
Clayton
back.
Thorson, I'll never forget it.
And I remember when we picked him, like, what are you doing? He would have been a free agent. He would not have been drafted, and we could have picked a
wide receiver
or something. So, I mean, again, that's another one of those things that we're going to be discussing down the road. But, when you're drafting, you don't do that. You can always get a good player in the draft, even late.
Well, George Mailata, 7th or 6th?
7th
round pick, and now this year he was the PFF second team All Pro, and he's a Pro Bowl alternate. Like it's in a first Pro Bowl alternate. That's the thing. You can create. You can find a person. You can find diamonds in the rough.
Just don't throw away a pick. Like
that's the thing.
Don't just
throw it away.
If you think it's a quarterback that's good, like Tanner McKee, who we drafted this past year. Do it, but this Thornton guy, we just kind of
that was horrible. Clayton Thorson
throw away.
that was bad. All right, let's go ahead and jump over to the game of the weekend that we are most excited for. Not really the game of the weekend because it wasn't that it wasn't fun for. Well, it was probably fun for most fans to watch because of how much we hate this team. But the Packers and the Cowboys game, which was the early game today, early as in like 2:30 our time.
Right.
Packers won 48-32. I was mind-blowing when they went out to a 27-0 start. Yeah, it was. What do you got on that?
Well, I just we talked about that game beforehand and did not feel very confident that the Cowboys were going to lose that game. Of course, we wanted them to, but when they when they jumped out to the 7-0 lead, Green Bay, you're like, okay, cool, good job, nice job. And then they kind of
good for you.
Good for you. Yeah, that's what I say. And then they went ahead, I think 14-0, right? I mean,
correct. Yes.
So
I mean, they went up at 27-0. So.
Then you're like, okay, well that's something. And then they just kind of shut them down and took ahead.
It was 7-0. Then they got the interception in the red zone.
That's right.
Then they
Short field.
Scored a few plays later, and then they get the ball back. They go down the field, 20-0. They missed an extra point. And then the 27 was a pick six.
Pick six, yeah. And then you kind of feeling pretty good there, but then the boys did score.
They scored before the half, which
last
makes you go,
second before the half.
All right, here we go.
And then they were getting the second half kickoff, but They kicked the field goal there, make it 27-10, but then Green Bay went right down the field.
Scored again. And the next 2 drives? Yeah. Because at one point it showed like a graphic. It said, Dallas scored in the last 3 drives. And I wanted to say, well, so did Green Bay.
They scored 5 touchdowns in a row.
Yeah, exactly. Which probably, I don't know if it was 5 in a row, but you're right. It was just insane.
I think I heard him say it. But
yeah, something like that.
Because they were up 41-16
I couldn't believe
at the end of the third quarter. And then 48-16 in the beginning of the fourth quarter. So,
and there you are again. I know I said about Cleveland and about Miami. Dallas going into the, ending the regular season, they were a top 5 defense, top 3. I don't know the exact number again. Right. And then they get up 48. They let up 48 points.
Right.
One's a pick 6. Okay, sorry, 41 points.
Yeah, well, that's just at home. I mean, here you go, crazy. Dan Quinn. They've been pumped all year about the great defense they have, and we talked about it in our first game against when the Eagles beat them, and we ran all over them. We ran over them. You can run on this team, and boy, it showed you can throw on this team too. But it's kind of a happy thing because now we know that it's going to throw them in turmoil.
Yeah,
they're probably going to fire their coach. Dan Quinn's not coming back. What's going to happen with Dak and the whole bit.
The biggest thing for me was, and I think I told you this, and I sent it into the group chat, not like the whole Eagles fan club we're in. We have the messenger chat. And
yes.
I sent it in there, and I'm like, dude, this game just shows you so much. Number 1, a 7 seed upset the number 2 seed at home, a team that was 8-0.
First time ever.
A team that was 8-0 at home in the regular season, which just shows you again, regular season, man, does it matter anymore? But 7 seed beats a 2 seed, destroys them, and I'm just like, dude, if this doesn't motivate the Eagles to finally play, I don't know what will.
Yeah. Because
you've just been, your biggest division rival has been taken out of the playoffs in embarrassing fashion.
Yes.
Not only that, one of your 2 biggest competitors, like, the biggest juggernauts in the NFC have been taken out.
Right.
Like there's so much more chance now that's opened up. You don't have to go to Dallas to play them now.
Right.
That option's gone. Like
same with next week. You wouldn't be going to San Francisco.
Yeah. The moment the Packers won, you're like, okay, first of all, Dallas is out, and now we don't have to play the Niners until if we got to the NFC Championship game.
Right.
Like, dude, the path has been set. Now you're playing the Rams or Detroit, which I know Detroit then won, but when it happened, you're like, now we're playing the Rams or Detroit. One could be a home game, and one's just over in Detroit in a domed stadium. Like, it's not like we're going to be in the weather.
Exactly.
It's not like we're going to be in the snow or the
we've
cold.
Talked about all season.
Yeah. No, we're going to be in a dome.
Perfect conditions.
Like, it's just like, dude, the path is set, but you got to win against Tampa Bay.
Right. I mean, like you say, if it doesn't motivate the team
to
come out of that game and just go into that game with everything you've got, we've seen the blueprint on how to beat the team. We played them earlier this season. We know, that some of the players that they've got on their team are not 100% just like us. So we know where to attack and how to attack. Just go do it. I mean, it's just crazy.
Well, it's just Green Bay winning. The path just became 90 times easier. I don't know. Detroit is just about as good as Dallas. They lost by a few points, but I always thought Dallas was a lot more talented. Just didn't have as great of a game against Detroit, a game they should have lost, but we don't have to get into that too much. But the chance you have to go to Detroit if you win against Tampa Bay, I know that's the first thing. You can't ever look past a team like Dallas might have done to Green Bay today. I don't know.
Possible.
Or Cleveland did to Houston.
But that just shows you coaching is not on its up and up.
So. Well, and neither has ours been. But
I agreed.
But the just Green, before this weekend started, all of us were thinking, if we beat Tampa Bay, we're either, as the 5th seed, we're going to go to we're going to go San Fran, which would be rough. Or if Detroit, if the Rams win, we got to go to Dallas. So in our minds, we were either going to Dallas or we were going to San Fran.
Right.
And it was like,
now you're going to
our
Detroit.
2 biggest losses, our 2 biggest destructions this season have been against those teams. We don't want to go there.
We know where we sit with them. Yes.
Yeah, we don't want to go there. Yeah. We're the little brother right now. Right. But now that the fact that Green Bay helped you that much by not just knocking Dallas out, but taking the bullet themselves to have to go to San Fran.
Then you saw how Detroit played in their first playoff game, and the fans, and they almost lost the game that they should have won fairly easily.
Probably handily,
So, I mean, it just kind of shows you that if you are a motivated team and you can motivate yourself to play tomorrow night and win the game, you're going to go at Detroit, and by the time it's settled, you'd be playing in the NFC Championship game.
Most likely, yeah.
So
you just gotta take care of business.
You got to win the game tomorrow, and I mean, I just can't. If they come out flat tomorrow, then I don't know. We're looking like a Dallas team that's going to clean house.
Yeah.
Because after the talk you hear today, that McCarthy's gone, Dan Quinn's gone.
Yeah.
They're going to try and beat us to get Belichick, I guess. That's the rumor. But
take him.
Yeah, that's what I say. He's 71 years old.
I don't want Bill Belichick.
Go back on your boat, buddy.
Yeah, I know.
It hasn't looked very good since the big guy left.
Yeah, since TB.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just, like you said, if this doesn't motivate the team, just Green Bay winning that game, you go, oh my gosh, we've got it made.
Right.
This is the
dream scenario.
It's the easiest path.
Yeah.
You're playing the 4 seed, and then if you win, you're playing the 3 seed. That's the best it could have gotten.
Yes.
Thank God we didn't win the division. we would have been mopped by Green Bay today.
It would be my guess. The way they played, the way they looked, the way we talked about trajectory. Their trajectory is up. Our trajectory is down. We need to kind of get a spike going here tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely.
But, I mean, like I say, we're playing probably one of the worst team left in the playoffs.
I would say Tampa Bay.
I don't want to jinx anybody.
I would say when Tampa Bay got in the playoffs, I mean, they were definitely the worst team in the NFC, and I would probably say I would say Tampa Bay is the worst team in the
and their trajectory
playoffs.
is down. They have not played well recently.
They won 5 of the last 6,
right.
But they won against Carolina, the worst team in the league,
right.
9-0, and almost lost.
We did watch that game as well. So we saw them, and they looked not very good. So again,
if
you still got to win the game.
Of course,
but,
I mean that's the first step.
That's the first step. So this is our call out to the Eagles. Come on, man. You got opportunity is there now. Just take advantage of it.
And the Eagles players. I mean, all players in the NFL. They're when it's wildcard weekend. If they're not playing that day, they're sitting there watching the game.
Yes.
And I mean, if that didn't make them go, oh my gosh, like this is. Yeah. We've got a chance.
We couldn't ask for a better setup.
There's literally no better setup. It's almost as a 5 seed. There's no better setup. Yeah. So, we'll move past that though. Just thank you very much, thank you very much, Green Bay Packers. Really appreciate it. It was a great
game too. Great game. Loved watching that.
Best game of the weekend. I mean,
it was wonderful.
Of course,
it made Wild Card Weekend great.
It did. Of course, Dak stat pad. Prescott had to get his numbers towards the end of the game.
Yeah, we got called out on that when we had our Eagles recap. We kind of called the Cowboys out on stat in the pad,
pad in your
stats.
They have to. That's what they do.
They're up by 30, but we got to get that another touchdown and get another touchdown to CD Lamb and get him 18 for the year. Yeah, I do.
Do you remember there was a video earlier this year of CD Lamb? Someone went over to Dak and was like, "Hey, CD needs 9 more yards to get da-da-da," and he was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll get it to him." And it's like, oh my God,
he padded his stats today with 2 interceptions to continue what he did last year.
Well, so
every other playoff game he's been in,
a lot, and I hope. I watch Speak a lot. That's the big TV show on Fox that I watch all the time. Speak with Acho and Shady and all that.
Right.
And, they always talk stats, and I'm hoping when they pull the stats at the bottom and it says 403 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I'm hoping they say when the game was at, I believe, 41-16. He had 193 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions.
Yeah, that was with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
I'm hoping they say something about that.
He finished with 405 yards.
4-3,
and another 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
To Jay Ferguson.
I think at the half, his QB rating, which if you know us, we hate the QB rating. I think he had a 36.9. He ended up with an 89, and that makes me go, see, the QB rating. That is the fakest stat in history.
Well, it's one that one of our favorite broadcasters always quotes. But his QBR was 104, and you're like, who cares? He threw 3 interceptions and he fumbled it twice.
Yeah,
he threw for 500 yards, but that's because his team was down by 40. I mean, that QBR drives me nuts.
And I'll say this as well: I didn't anticipate Green Bay to win this week. I definitely don't anticipate them to do anything against San Francisco either. But
you never know.
I said that this week too, and
they got a great defense.
They got a really good defense.
Great defense,
and their receivers were just. I don't know if it was just the Dallas defense with a soft zone at one point, but my gosh, they were running free,
wide open.
It was incredible. I couldn't believe it. The whole game, they were making separation. You saw Stephon Gilmore. You saw him being cooked. He had some Bradbury moments.
Yeah. And even with what's his name? Brand.
Deron Bland.
Bland with the Mr. Pick Six.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. He is a lot like, so it reminds me, Deron Bland this season, it reminded me a lot of Trayvon Diggs his second season.
Right.
So Trayvon Diggs his rookie year, I believe he had 2 interceptions, both against the Eagles in a Carson Wentz disgusting game.
Right.
The Sunday night game,
Yep.
the worst game in history. We won that game, but it was just so bad.
Oh, yeah.
But Trayvon Diggs, he got burnt a lot as a rookie, which, as a rookie it happens, but he
Sure.
had 2 picks. Promising season. And then his second year, he had the 11 pick
11
season.
pick season, right.
But that year, he also led up the most touchdowns, most receiving yard. I don't know all of it. One of the most receiving yards, most receptions per catch,
Right.
yards per catch, stuff like that. And it was kind of funny because it's like, yeah, he's got all these picks, but the reason why is because they target the heck out of him, because he's not that great in coverage,
Yeah.
Now, since then, he has become a much better lockdown
he hurt
corner.
himself.
So
he got hurt this year.
Yeah,
right?
he tore his ACL.
Yeah, so
it was a
went out
bummer.
early this year.
Yeah, that was a bummer. It was like week 3 or 4.
was a big blow
that was
to their
that was
defense.
really unfortunate.
But
for a good player.
Their defense.
But Bland, he's a lot like that. He's really great. He's got the pick sixes. He's amazing. But the reason why he's got him is because they target him. He was the one that DK Metcalf got 170 yards against.
Right. Well, he got burned today. I mean, the whole defense.
Well, the whole defense did.
Team
dude, they were running free. I couldn't believe it. This was unbelievable.
Well, the worst part of that game was when they pulled Love out.
They pulled Love.
With 6 minutes left, the Cowboys started calling timeouts, and you're down by 35, 40 points.
Just disgusting.
I know you can't stop playing, but it's over.
But that shows a coach who's fighting for his job. He's probably like, well, I got to do something.
Right.
I can't just lay down.
Yeah.
If I just lay down, they're going to go, oh, he gave up. No,
Right.
I got to do something. I don't know.
I was a little bit upset when they put Love back in. So that's what I was hoping for. Like, bring him back in,
throw another touchdown,
let him throw another TD, put up 56 on him,
put a 50 on there.
Yeah. Well, that was the most points that they ever gave up. The Cowboys ever given up in a playoff game either.
Yeah, in postseason in franchise history, and that was at 41 points.
Yes,
it showed 41 points, and they were about to. And then the guy even said he's like they're about to give up more.
Yeah, well they did 48. Yeah. So
yeah, overall pretty good wild card weekend. It was kind of it's funny the Lions and Rams game was only I guess the weekend's not over, but we'll talk about the games tomorrow. But it's funny how the Rams Lions, that was really the only close game.
Yeah,
everything else. The Chiefs kind of destroyed them. The Texans destroyed them, and then the Packers destroyed the Cowboys. But
it's true.
The Packers destroyed the Cowboys. That's a great game. Every week.
Yeah, don't stop scoring. Just keep it up. It's going to be interesting to see tomorrow. We got the Bills game early. Maybe the stadium's better. I don't know. I saw that the weather wasn't as bad, but they were still having trouble getting people to help shovel tonight. So I don't think that's that cleared up. But they showed the stadium today. I saw some live weather feeds, and my goodness gracious, it was still whiteout conditions at noon.
Yeah, it's crazy.
There's no way they would have been able to play.
Yeah.
To play a game where you could see it, watching the Fog Bowl again, or
disgusting.
Something where you can't even see the coverage. But so that's nice.
Can I say that I've also heard a lot of Eagles fans talk about the Fog Bowl, that was awesome. Didn't we lose that game?
That wasn't awesome.
Was it really that awesome?
It was not awesome.
We lost that game. Now the Snow Bowl, that's something else.
That's awesome.
That's a Detroit. Sorry, Detroit.
Yeah, that was an awesome.
All right, man. You got anything else for me?
Not really. No. Let's just go. We got 2 more games tomorrow. Got a nice day off tomorrow, so we get to sleep in and have another Saturday, Sunday day.
Yeah,
so
of course.
But so hopefully the games are good, and we'll hopefully see a lot of people out there at Frankie's tomorrow.
We had a great night. Yeah, I hope to see everyone at Frankie's as always. We are part of the Philadelphia Eagles fan club in Colorado Springs. Come on down to Frankie's at Powers and Galley here in Colorado Springs to say hi to us and watch the Eagles game with us.
Yes.
But other than that, we'll say our goodbyes. From all of us here at Our Eagles Therapy Podcast, my name is Basil.
And I'm Baz.
Go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.